thanks for coming here tonight. My name is Jeff Faulkner from Ty and Bond. We wanted to give you an update on the Berry Corner Road, H-Foot Road, Eleanor Lane water main project. And by the decor of the room, happy Valentine's Day. So you've all been dealing with the project for the past 6 or 8 months and the problems before then. So we wanted to let you know that the end is in sight. So a little bit about the project team. The project owner is considered the town of Southbridge, represented tonight by Heather Blakely, DPW director. Also involved is the town of Charlton, Water Department Superintendent Pete Boria is here. Also heavily involved is Jim Philbrook from the Health Department, couldn't make it tonight. As I said, I'm Jeff Faulkner, project manager at Ty and Bond. Also from Ty and Bond is Tom Mahana, principal of the firm. And we also have a representative from Ludlow Construction, Fabio, who will be doing some of the resident coordination and scheduling as we move along into the year. Can people see that okay? So a little bit of the background, as I'm sure you're quite aware, the landfill monitoring groundwater around the landfill in 2015 noted some contaminants. And then after a year and a half or so of coordination, an ACO came out representing 4 parties' agreement as to how to proceed forward to extend a water main to have public water supply on these 3 streets. The 4 parties in that agreement are the town of Charlton, the town of Southbridge, Casella, and the Mass DEP. And funding from that ACO is going to pay for the project. So construction, there was a design period in 2017 and early 2018. It went out to public bid. Ludlow Construction was the selected contractor, and they began construction in June, late June of 2018. And to date, they've installed roughly 3 miles of water main on Berry Corner Road and H-Foot Road. This is what we call just mainline pipe. It's just the pipe that's in the town road. It's not into the private property. They've also installed hydrants and services on Berry Corner Road, basically underneath the pavement portion. And on H-Foot Road, starting at the southern end, they've started to do that before the winter came upon us and we were shut down for the winter. As you might be aware, the neighborhood is very ledgy rock. We were aware of that going in. Just a little interesting fact, to date they've removed 4,300 cubic yards of rock. A little map of the project area, 3 streets, Berry Corner Road, H-Foot Road, and Eleanor Lane. The lines in blue represent the constructed main pipe to date, being on Berry Corner Road to Ayers Road and H-Foot Road to the town line. The area in red is Eleanor Lane, and that's the main pipe that has not been installed yet. So a little update about what's coming in the near future is Eleanor Lane will get about 2,800 feet of water main, and then there'll be services and hydrants to the property lines as the first step. Berry Corner Road, there'll be a pressure reducing valve vault, basically a concrete chamber holding a valve to regulate the pressure into your neighborhood. And then there'll be on H-Foot Road the continuation of the pipes underneath the pavement that extend to the property line and hydrant laterals. So that's the work within the roadways in 2019. There's also going to be work on private property. This will include potentially clearing trees and shrubs, installing the service pipe, which is usually about a 1-inch pipe from the street to your house foundation. It involves some work in the basement to reconfigure the plumbing connection from your private well to the public water supply, and installing the water meter. Also, private wells will be decommissioned as part of the project. And then there'll be some surface restoration, lawns, shrubs. Trees will not be restored to the extent that they exist today and are cleared, but there will be an effort to restore, to the extent practical, the restoration of surface features. A little sense of timing and schedule as we proceed into the end of winter, hopefully. So Ludlow would like to start the clearing and tree removal process while the ground is a little bit more solid, rather than in the spring when it's kind of mushy. So they'd like to get that done in the upcoming month or two. The water main and the roadways will depend on when the road opening permit can be restored, but typically that happens around April 1st. And then the water services will be installed late spring and throughout the summer into private properties. The project also ties to another project that you might be aware of. There's the ExxonMobil work going on, of which one of the ExxonMobil projects is the installation of a pump station on Southbridge Road, right near the intersection of Berry Corner Road. And it's my understanding that roughly April or May that pump station will become active. So at no time before that pump station is active can we bring on any services. As we proceed further into the year, more surface features will be restored. There'll be a period where the grass will not grow in the heat of summer, but fall is a typical good time to restore lawns and seed, with the expectation that all of it might not take this one growing season, and that they'd have to come back in the spring of 2020 to reestablish some surface features. Roadway paving, that is expected for late summer, probably early fall as well. So you're certainly dealing with roads that are a little bumpy right now, as happens during construction projects. If you can bear with it a little bit longer, the good news is that you're going to have a nice smooth road in the end. So a little bit more about what it might mean to you in your house and your property, and what to expect. So the overall goal of the project is to design pipe on your property that has the least amount of impact. This doesn't mean it's a straight shot from the road to your house. It might need to deviate from that to avoid septic systems or other features that you might have. So an initial attempt was made to design those services on your property to try to avoid some of those features. But one of the goals of this meeting is to have you review and comment if you have any concerns about your specific design. One thing to note is, although the pipe on your property is only going to be an inch, the equipment to install that pipe is much bigger. So you should probably expect a 12-foot swath of area to allow the construction vehicles to enter and install that pipe. Lawns, features, again, will be attempted to be restored to the pre-existing condition to that extent that makes sense. Here's a photo of a service installation on private property up to a house foundation. Pretty neat trench there, but you can see that there's soil excavated on the sides, so it does create some width of disturbance. In addition to excavating, as we mentioned before, this area has a lot of rock, so we do anticipate hitting some ledge on your property as well. And that's been has been removed to date, like I said, 4,300 cubic yards. And that might end up being 10 or 11,000 cubic yards by the time the project is over. Most of the services are 1-inch copper. Some of the very long ones are plastic on private property. And we want to make sure that you understand that the sidewalk and walkways will be restored. However, like if the piping is going through a driveway, it's not a whole new driveway. It's the path the pipe takes. It'd be what we call like a trench repair. There's going to be some coordination during the install process. It's not a one simple visit and they're done. It's going to take some investigation to make sure that we're entering the house at the right point. And it's going to take some coordination by a plumber inside your house and from a well driller to decommission the well. And the town of Southbridge coming later on within a few days after the install to replace a short piece of pipe with an actual water meter. A little sketch of what that typical plumbing house connection might mean. And that'll be installed by a licensed plumber. We'll have to disconnect the incoming pipe from the well and reconnect the pipe to the house plumbing. One question we've gotten a bunch. Yes.
Do you anticipate any time period that will be without water during the switchover?
It'll be hopefully that 1 day process where the install is accomplished, and then the following couple of days later, when the actual meter is replacing, that'll be a short duration shut off to just replace that short piece of dummy pipe with a meter.
Usually the turn on, so what has happened previously on other projects where we've done connections is that the plumber has it all set. The pipe, he knows where he's gonna cut it, he knows how much he has to put in, and he has it all plumbed for us to come right and put the meter. We come in, we put the meter in, he does that disconnection, you get tied over from the disconnection because the plumber's right there with us, and it gets tied in that same day. So you literally get disconnected from your well, reconnected to the water system all in the same day. They won't turn the water on with the dummy.
Okay.
That's not how it happens.
Okay.
It's a, it's all come in, inspect it, it's all plumbed, all ready to go. I know where I'm doing, I have it as close as I can so I can just make that final connection to the house plumbing. So it's an hour or two. You won't be a day without water. That to me is not acceptable, so it has to be scheduled that way. We've done it, we know it takes 1 or 2 hours, we move over to the next house, the next 1 or 2 hours. So there'll be you might be all plumbed and ready to go, and the plumber's gonna go to have them like 3 or 4 of them ready to go and schedule a day with our water department to go install the meters. And then it'll be like from one place to the next place to the next place to install the meters, and then the water's on, okay?
Thank you.
And Fabio will be part of that coordination.
Correct. We anticipate 3 to 4 houses a day to install.
How about flushing lines? Is there any time you need to do? You do the connection, switch over, and then it's automatic. You have water. And
Yeah, because the line, so the line will be to your house, and even into the basement. If they need to flush it out and clean it, they can do that because they can turn it on with the valves that isn't into your house yet.
Yeah.
So that whip line they'll flush. The main already has to be energized way before that. So that's already flushed and tested. It's literally, that line gets tested by visually, the line from the street to your house gets a visual inspection with the trench open by the water department to say there's no leaks in it. It's also why we want one piece of pipe to any extent possible that we can. Now, we have some situations here we can't do that, but every connection is visually inspected. We know it's all good, then it gets backfilled. Now the plumber comes in and ties it into the house and does all that. We can go and inspect that inside. The good news is you're not the guinea pigs here, because 50 of these have already been done by Exxon. And Southbridge, being the water company supply him, has done the inspections and knows kind of the timing. And we kind of, when these start happening, there's a guy basically out here all day just going from one to another. If they're moving on 3 a day and digging the trenches, whether it's digging or connecting to that, so. They coordinate it. We don't want you to be without water. It would have to be some type of really weird thing that would happen. I don't know of anybody who hasn't been without water because of something happening.
So will the trenches be open for a period of time?
The trenches will be open for a period of time so us can do the inspections. Usually on a normal installation, they'll get the whole trench dug, and if, hopefully, if they're not hitting too much rock, they can get the majority of it done in one day on a normal 100-foot trench. So it gets backfilled, you know, they come out at like 1 o'clock and then they can backfill it and put it in sand. If it's a situation where you have a long one, they'll come inspect that section. They're there to see that they get done correctly. The good news is that because it is one piece of pipe, and once we know they're bedding it in sand and everything, the likelihood of anything happening is very, very low.
Okay, so another comment we've been getting a few times is about well abandonment, and we're basically administering the ACO, which dictates that the private wells get abandoned in order to connect up. So that is the theory of the project. It's documented in the ACO. The connection form that any homeowner has signed has given the authority to decommission your well. So that's the way the project is proceeding. But that will be done by a licensed well driller. So in terms of coordinating with any specific homeowners, a few weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, through Clean Wells organization, an email went out with a link to a connection form, or what do we call it, a water service review form. So we've gotten a bunch of responses on that, and we appreciate the ones we've gotten. If you have responded and you've commented that you don't have any problems with the specific design on your property, there's no further coordination currently. If you have returned that survey but had questions and wanted to coordinate a potential modification, we'll be coordinating with you soon. And if you have not filled that out, we would ask you to. If you were not part of the email distribution list, from the sign-up form that's going around the room this evening, we'll send out an email with a link to that form as well. And what the purpose of this form is we already know that we want to connect to the water system, but we want to have an understanding and buy-in as to the location of the service on your private property, because ultimately that turns over to your ownership, and we want to make sure that the restoration of your private property is coordinated. So there's a really long link shown there, but we'll send out another email with it as well. If you have not signed up for a water connection, technically it's too late. That was supposed to have been signed up by January of last year. However, if there is interest, let the towns know, and they'll decide whether they can approve that or not. The main coordinator of connecting services is Jim Philbrook and the Health Department in Charlton. And just in terms of what the roadways repair will look like in the end, Berry Corner Road and H-Foot Road will get what we call a reclaim and pave. So basically like a big rototiller that goes with the entire width of the road, and uses the existing pavement as sub-base material underneath the new pavement. And then there'll be a grading of the road and a final pavement layer on top. That'll be edge to edge, so you won't have any trench lines when we're done. Eleanor Lane being a newer road, treated a little bit differently. It'll get permanent trench repair, which is not what you have now on any streets. It will basically be a 4-inch, recutting the lines of the trench cleanly and doing a 4-inch pavement repair, the entire trench. In addition to that, on Eleanor, the entranceway where there's the island in the middle, I think the first 500 feet or so, that will get an edge-to-edge overlay. So that is a nice entrance. Actually, I think it's the exit. And then on private property, site restoration will be shrubs, lawn repair. If there's stone walls, those will be repaired, brought up to pre-existing conditions. And at that point, contractor will be out of your way and you can have clean water. So that's the end of the formal presentation. We can take some more questions. We do also have a set of the plans here, if anyone wants to look at their specific house and coordinate with us.
So you're talking about all this work done in our house. So I currently have a filter system hooked up to my well. Is kind of decommissioned, like removal of that also part of the work being done?
A filter system that you purchased or through the Casella program?
That we purchased when we built the house, because
Yeah.
we did it with the water when we built the house.
I don't think a removal of the filter system would be part of the contract, disconnection of it.
So you just kind of bypass it and then
Yeah.
obviously the Casella will take big giant things.
The houses that do have Casella treatment systems, Casella will have to come in after this project is done and remove the treatment systems that are there, paid for by Casella.
Does your treatment system have a bypass on it?
Yes.
So on my property, where they're coming in off the water main, they go through a lot of trees, they gotta cut down a couple of trees. But it's almost guaranteed, within a year or so, you're gonna lose a couple of trees too. So who's responsible for taking down those trees when they die? 'Cause there's a good chance you're gonna rip up enough roots.
The root systems?
Yeah, you're gonna lose trees. Like for instance, when I did my septic system, I had this huge beautiful tree in the front yard, and with the leach field, they took out some of the roots in the tree, it was only a year, it was gone. So somebody's gotta be responsible for those trees, I would assume, for at least a number of years.
We don't, as soon as the project's done, it's got about a year warranty on it and that's it. So, if
So then
you're
we gotta do something.
concerned about trees and the removal of trees, then you need to make sure that that area, the trees that are being taken down are clearly communicated. They're going to make a minimal size of trench, they don't have to dig a very big trench here.
Yeah, I realize that.
You know, so this, literally, this trench is gonna be a foot wide. Yes, it's, you know, depending on if they get ledge, you know, they're gonna try to minimize this trench. If they should be taking trees down in a 10-foot swath. Other than that, I haven't seen that many trees die. It would be a question of where they are. Trees die for a lot of different reasons. I know stress on trees are definitely one of them, but I can't say that we're gonna make the contractor come back a year later and cut your trees down, because it's gonna be way outside his scope.
Well, I can almost guarantee you're gonna lose a tree or something, so that is an issue, so we have to straighten that out.
I think some of that we're gonna have to do on a case-by-case
Yeah, well, we
basis.
go- have somebody come up-
As the project's moving forward,
Yeah.
I think if you have some questions now, if I can get your address, we can take a look at what's
Yeah,
tagged for
75
trees.
inch foot.
75. And there's some
Well,
ribbons
you're coming
on
right
it.
in between a lot of trees.
Yep.
And,
But so some are tagged, and you think there should be a
well, I
couple
see the
more?
two that are the two that are tagged,
Yep.
but there's still like trees like within a couple of feet of those at best, you know?
We'll take a look and
Well,
see if we
yeah.
think more needs to be taken out ahead of time.
I think what we asked the contractor to do is be as least invasive as possible,
Right.
because some people don't want to take less than more. I think if you're comfortable with taking more so that you don't have to worry about it in the future, then we can talk about that as well. again, on a case-by-case basis, depending on where your connection's coming from.
Yeah, I just want that issue taken care of before you.
Yeah, I don't think it's,
Before you clean
I don't
up
think it's
the
anyone's intent to leave you with something you have to worry about a year from
We're
now.
here tonight because we did not approve the form because of trees. The way that the pipe was coming into our property, we have two big pine trees in the front yard, and we know that that's, the trench that you dig there for the pipe is gonna kill the root system.
Where they stubbed it out is where it was originally designed, but when you had the meeting last year, where we were allowed to say we didn't want it to go and where it was originally designed, we told them, don't put it there, put it over here on the side, because if you put it there, it's gonna go right through these two 24-inch diameter pine trees that I have in my front yard that I've always been worried are gonna come down on my house. So if you go through there and rip half the roots out, then I'm sure they're gonna come down on my house. So, I don't want it going where you have the stub right now.
Can you give us the address?
148 Berry Corner. And they have another issue with that property too, is that when they came through with the main water line, they buried the pipe which goes underneath my driveway. So that's gonna need to be dug back out. It's covered right over, call it a culvert pipe that goes under my driveway for the trench there, and it's completely buried.
And that's where all the ice is on Berry Corner, right in front of our house.
On 148.
Figured that it had to be
Is
something
that
that they
past-
disturbed along the way.
That's past each foot then, right?
Yeah, 48.
148 is past each foot.
And it's almost near the intersection of 10 Schoolhouse.
So you guys will call me up and we'll get together with somebody?
Alright,
We'll try to look at the plans now too, but we probably need to look at it in the field, so.
Oh, that,
next day or two, I'll probably just take a ride by and then talk to Heather about it, and then we'll get in touch with you guys. And I think if you guys wanna go a different route, we need to look at the plan that we have now and see if what's feasible to do that.
Yeah, we have a
Okay,
couple of red
install
pens, we can
lateral.
start to mark it up.
But, I mean, we don't mind at all, you wanna take the pine trees down, but I'm sure they don't wanna probably handle taking down two 24-inch diameter
I was gonna
pine
say,
trees, but-
that's what I went on, took the
I
branches.
thought you were opposed to taking the trees down.
No, no way. Take them down.
I heard
He's
very
not
clearly,
opposed
they
to
don't
taking
want
them
that.
down. He wants them down.
Tie orange ribbon around them.
I'm a surveyor, I got plenty of orange ribbon.
Oops.
on my front yard too, is I think the leach field's further over towards Steve's house than you guys think it is, 'cause of where you're coming in. 'Cause I don't think the breakout was more than about 20 feet.
And you just had that replaced?
No, when I originally built the house.
How long ago was that?
In '88. So I was trying to, the other day I was looking at that, I said, I don't know if there's as much break, the way it's coming down, that's why we'll just have to go over, it, you know what I mean?
I just wanna know if it was a case there might be some type of as-built in the Board of Health's office to see what.
Yeah, they tried to get all the as-bills for the septic systems to incorporate where the houses were, where the septics were, so that we would avoid them, because they need to be a certain distance away from them. I know they did that effort with Jim, I know that's a big effort, so.
There aren't complete records of everyone, so.
Well, back in those days, there was big issues with,
How complete the
who
records
was
were.
running the town and how the septic was being put in, so, I don't know if you guys know about that, but.
I just grabbed one from 92. Think it was.
I'm just going by what I can visually remember seeing.
Yeah.
So,
I'm at 91, and I got the blue plastic line already off and up in the front of my yard.
That's just a Calder whip, that's where that's not, permanent.
That's just so you can chase it back in?
Yeah.
Like, where that's been, and they did a nice job. I have no problems at all. That is right up against an old pine tree. So if digging like that is gonna cause problems with the tree, I mean, it went right next to the tree. The tree's not in really good shape anyway, so if you're into passing out yellow tape, we should take that one down too.
What, that was 91?
91, yeah, because if it falls, it's probably not gonna fall on my house, it's gonna fall on my neighbor's house, so.
91 Berry Corner.
H foot, yeah, 91 H foot.
Sorry.
Just speaking of those stubs that are coming out, we don't have one, but we have a hydrant. So I'm wondering, according to the plan, shows it about 10, 15 feet over from the hydrant.
And what number are you?
89
89 each foot.
each foot, but we don't have anything coming up out of the ground showing where it's gonna be.
They didn't put whips on all of them.
Okay.
A whip is put when they're trying to use it to get air out. It's a way of venting off or getting off water and spilling off water. So not every one of them got put in. There will be a lateral, even if it's not there yet, to every lot. So it might be there and it's just below ground and there's no whip on it because they didn't need whip because there was one right next to it. So
I didn't know if that was the time for the water line.
No, we don't use-
With the
we're not-
hydrant, I didn't know if they were coming off the
no,
hydrant.
it doesn't come off the hydrant. You get your own connection directly. We don't tie off hydrant branches. It gets its own curb stop and everything. So it would just be a little tiny disc like this if the curb stop was in. But we'll check to make sure that it will get installed no matter what. So
Have all of the fire hydrant,
no.
they haven't all been put in
No.
on each foot?
Got a trenching question. The trench on my house at 40 Berry Corner Road goes right across the front yard. In the process, it goes right on top of my existing well, which is a concern, and it also cuts through drainage that goes from the roof gutters out to the street. How does that get handled when the trench machine goes?
It's not well, the well line they should be able to trace. They'll know where it is and they'll have to hand dig it when they get near it.
Okay.
So they'll just go under it or dig around it and.
They'll know that when they're doing it?
Well, your well should be shown on the plan, because we've actually located wells.
Okay.
And, normally, well lines go directly from the well to the house. So if it's sitting here.
Yep.
And your house is here, it's gonna go in, and they'll be able to go inside the house and see where it comes in. So if it comes in this corner, it's going this way, or it comes in that way, it goes that way.
Okay.
They also could probably put tracing wire on it, right? It's got electricity, if you needed to know where it was.
yeah.
Yeah, there's ways to trace it with detectors, because it's got electricity to the well, so you can trace that underground.
My concern is that the trenching machine doesn't just go and just destroy.
If they do,
my
they have
existing
to
well
fix
on
it.
Trench Tech and my drainage that's a couple
The
hundred feet to
drainage,
the
they'll
road.
probably go right through and then patch it and fix it.
Okay.
Because it's that flexible black pipe.
May your words be true and they miss the well and hit the drainage. I
They're
like
not
it
gonna,
that way.
yeah, they
I
should,
like, if I lose my OP, I'm not gonna be a happy camper.
yeah.
Question back there?
Yeah, two items. Are you taking the tanks when you install the new service? Taking the holding
No.
tanks out of the house?
The holding tanks,
Yeah.
the water
From
pressure
the
tanks?
Yeah.
I think we'd have to go back and look and see what the spec says on it. I don't remember how it was written
The
out.
last meeting we were at, they said they would be taking that.
Yeah, I
so-
think, a pressure tank for your house, cause that's coming up for your well. Probably right where they're gonna wanna put all the other stuff to connect it in anyway, so.
And the plans show 1-inch type K copper to
Yep.
most homes on there.
Yep.
But I thought last year someone said they weren't gonna be running copper to the homes.
No, it's all copper except for the special dispensations that are over 500 feet long.
And can I get a copy of the slides that I can post on the website?
Yeah, I'll email it to you tomorrow.
Thanks.
The only reason why some of them aren't copper is for that same reason I said that we like to put one continuous length. When you start to deal with some of the houses are really, really far away. So we had to ask for some special dispensation from DEP to use the plastic pipe in that case.
And you said if we sign up our email on the list, we're gonna start getting updates on this, because I've got no notifications about anything for this whole project, ever.
Yeah, so as the engineer, we weren't part of a public outreach program, but we did these two meetings. We've been using kind of Joe Jordan to take advantage of the email list that he has. And I believe Pete's been posting some updates on the website as well.
Yeah, I just have to check their website and say, oh, there's a meeting, that sounds useful.
But what we will definitely do on the email list that is circulating, we'll send a link to the forms, and what we're asking is that the form be returned. I have some paper copies if someone doesn't want to do it on the computer, but it helps out if we can do it through the database on the computer. We will not be proceeding forward with a connection until we get confirmation on a particular house.
Do you know if they'll be using the same piece of pipe for the foundation, or are they gonna have to drill a new hole?
Are they gonna have to drill a hole through the foundation?
Yes.
Yes.
New hole?
Yeah, for the big reason of, you need the well to stay active while we're doing the plumbing.
Okay, I didn't know if that was
Yeah.
included in the
No.
very end.
It's probably gonna be a new hole, it would make it a lot easier.
And then as part of the decommissioning, like filling that in, or, I don't know,
They
disconnecting
can,
it somehow?
they'll seal it, they'll
Uh-huh.
plug it.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So I'm just curious, the south end of H-Foot Road as it enters Southbridge.
Yep.
It looks like there's 3 hydrants, or something that looks like hydrants hidden under
There's
what beds?
another pressure reducing vault that goes in there for a potential circling back into the Southbridge system. Because they're on different pressure zones, it would need another vault there, so it's set up to be able to do that.
Okay, and the road from that back end of H-Foot, whatever it is, Barefoot, there
Yep.
in that area, that is horrible.
Yep,
Is that
there's
gonna be
nothing
part of
we-
the repay?
Nope, it only goes in Charlton. I can't do anything in Southbridge, I wish I could.
Wow.
I might try to see if they'll just keep going. I know it's bad, I can't really do anything until we can do something more in the spring to address all that water
Oh,
that's
yeah, no,
standing there.
when they do the repay fall of next year, are they gonna be able to take care of that as well?
No,
No,
it's not part of the project.
okay.
You can petition the other, I would say yes, but no, I can't, it wasn't agreed to be part of the project.
But you're gonna go all the way to the last,
Yes, to the town line, which is probably further than you all think, because it's really where that line is, where they stopped right now. That's the town line.
okay, well, so you really are talking about 100 feet or so to
Yeah.
finish it.
Yeah, but I can't.
You don't have that kind of pull?
I wish. I'd love them to go all the way, keep on going, right past the landfill, make it all beautiful.
Well, if you put a stake,
Right to commercial drive.
put a stake or something there, and somehow that stake got moved 100 feet.
And if you did, I think they'd know where to go.
I hear we have a supplier of survey ribbon.
It's kind of a joke now, but I was in a recent ambulance trip to the hospital over our road. It's not a pleasant ride, and it's would be a sad situation if anybody is in an ambulance and it's a life or death situation, because the people in the ambulance cannot take care of you on that road. The way you're bouncing around.
To add to that, it's not just the patches and the different heights. Some of the places, the patches are actually walking away.
Yeah.
It's becoming door holes again.
So through Heather, I was notified today of some issues, through Jerry of the Charlton Highway Department, and Ludlow's committed to come out tomorrow to fix some issues.
I would say though, I understand that it's probably very frustrating. It is like that everywhere right now. Maybe not the trenches, but the washouts and everything. The freeze-thaw cycles that we're going through right now are causing all of us major havoc with potholes on even any roads. So I know from talking to Jerry, he's like, oh, all my roads are in bad shape, and so was mine. I mean, I had fresh patches that I put hot patch in just 2 years ago, completely wash away in one of these cycles recently. So water and freezing and thawing and all of what we're going through and having it happen multiple times is causing major havoc on our roads. And rain in the middle of the winter when it's frozen. Not that it's justification, but it's something that we live in New England, and there's not a lot we can do as highway managers at this point.
Yeah, is that all plans? I'll
So
take
we
the
will patch
roll
with cold
plans
patch,
out.
because we don't have anything else that we can get right now. And unfortunately, every time it rains, it will probably wash away. But we will keep on doing it and try to get as good as we can.
I'll put the set of plans out.
So speaking of continuing paving past places, our portion of Berry Quarter is dirt because I believe it's still part of the town road at the very end.
If it's dirt now, it's staying dirt.
There's no way you can
Nope.
just, while you're paving it, keep going?
Nope. not, you have to realize this is DEP money and Casella money. Well, all they agreed to do is restore the current
Yeah.
areas. It's not town money, not
Yeah.
Southbridge money or Charlton money, this is, so, no.
And even if the town wanted to, I'm not sure they.
That would be up
that-
to the town.
But they couldn't put it in, chip in to keep going, well,
They
the
would
issues
have,
there
they would
anyway.
need to have a source of the money,
Yeah,
and I don't know that they have one to
I
do that.
get that. It just seems like a shame when you're paving the road anyway, you couldn't just keep going.
It's public bid, right? That would be a decision that the highway department would need to make in Charlton. It'd have to be probably their chapter 90 funds, and I know,
Right.
that's not my decision or Pete's really.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question, when you run the lines off the houses, there's a lot of houses with ledge.
Sorry?
Running the line up from the road to the house,
Yep,
I know for a fact in front of my house, there's big piece of ledge going
Yep.
right across. Now, I know they said that they're not gonna run the lines down the old trench line from the well. So my question is, I don't know how far they blasted or broke through to put in that original one.
yeah.
If they hit that ledge, what are the plans to do? Are they gonna try to hammer it?
Yes.
Are they gonna-
We'll hammer it.
Because then my concerns are right next to the foundation, I don't want my foundation being cracked because they're hammering ledge. Is there a way that, for that short section, to just go into the old trench line?
It kind of, in a lot of cases, it seems like it actually
Makes sense.
well, it's
Pretty
you know,
close
pretty
to it.
close to
It's probably gonna be very close to the trench line. What they don't wanna do is disturb your well line, because they don't want you to be without water.
Right, and I understand that, it's just, I don't know what they did, because we've got a huge piece of ledge going right across the front of the house. On the back side, they blasted to put in the cellar hole.
Yep,
A big chunk of that's still there, because I just had a patio put in the front, and that's still there. How far it goes, I don't know if they just got the edge broken off so they could run the water line in, because it comes in on an angle. You guys are coming in straight, you might hit it. So that, my only question is that if you're gonna hit it, because it's right up against the foundation, you know, I don't want a big hammer drill pounding on that thing, and the next thing I know it, my cellar has got cracks all over the foundation.
No, we definitely don't wanna hit any ledge, that's that's the number one.
I know it's there.
Right.
Yeah, well, I guess.
a lot of it's gonna have to be while they're out there in the field, trying to pick the proper route, even in the field. It might deviate from a little bit that's on the plan, but it's,
Well, I'm just saying,
That's
I
an art.
have no problem with going into the old trench line.
Yep.
I know they're not gonna disturb it, I would rather them kind of deviate around that
maybe
than
9, maybe when you get
taking the risk of
close to that one, see where
busting
that
my
line is.
foundation.
Well, there's gonna be more
Yeah,
than that one.
yeah.
And it's gonna depend on how long you're willing to go without water. So if you can coordinate it so they can do that, if they can try and get that done in one day, and you're without water for 7 or 8 hours and you're okay with that, then maybe that's the best way to go. It's just gonna take some coordination, and it'll take them a little bit longer, but it'll save them time as far as trying to hammer through ledge, right?
And again, I don't know from the corner how wide that's where they broke it out, but
Yeah.
the front stairs I just had replaced with a patio.
It was very small.
It's 4 inches underneath the ground.
It was right there under the top
4
soil.
inches down and it's all the way to where the
Maybe
edge
you
of the
can
stairs
probe it.
are. And from the edge of the house to
From the
there,
well,
it's only another
how much?
10 to 15 feet,
Yeah.
so.
They might be able to do a couple, like, basically driving some rods down to see where that ledge edge is and
Well,
follow it over, you
I
know.
when
kind
you
of-
dig, eventually you're gonna hit it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what their plan of attack was. I just don't want, I don't have any water, cracks leak to my foundation.
Yeah.
I don't want-
Yeah. Oh, understood.
Plus the basement is
Yours is a comment.
But I think they could come right in here, this corner, this hard driveway.
Any other general questions? What, yes, sir.
Sounds like there's a lot of upcoming
I know they hit a lot
dates
of-
to trench, to
One at the top
get
of the
into the
hill there.
basement, have the plumber.
That's
I was
all
just gonna make,
coordinated.
Get those, because up till now it's been sort of
Yeah,
quiet on our
this,
end.
this right here.
so
when I
that was one of the
actually-
comments I was just gonna make. I just completed a very similar project, and, we had to bring water right into the
There's
houses.
concrete and there's.
There's gonna be
two
multiple
gates.
times
Yeah.
we're gonna need to get into the
And
property.
then why it was gonna come back.
Part of which is gonna be the initial inspection of the
Across the front
basements,
line and down the
just to
driveway.
kind of verify locations and
And we
everything.
go right-
So that will be done with a,
Which is all-
with a combination of a representative from Time Bond who will be on site every day, along with Fabio or somebody from Ludlow, and, you know, and the water department also. So there's gonna be multiple times we're gonna need to get in, confirm locations, where services are going. Hopefully that can be done in one shot, but if we find issues or whatever, that we need to come back. And then, when the work is done, you know, setting the initial meter, making the connections, and then there'll be follow-up with the abandonment, and also, you know, the plumbing inspections too. So there's gonna be multiple times, so we're
But
gonna.
how do we find out when those are, so we can be there and get you
That
access?
will be, that's part of the job of the contractor, and that's why there's phone numbers and everything on your connection forms.
Okay.
So they'll contact you, you know, probably a couple weeks ahead of time, trying to get times that you can commit to being there, to be there. That would be between Time Bond and the contractor, they'll set those
Because the
all
well
up.
was there and then they
They're
went-
not, we're still probably 2 months out from starting to do that.
Okay, but the other way also to try to anticipate is you'll see as we're moving up the
Coming
road.
closer to your house.
You know, you'll see that, so should be able to, you know, at least get a gauge of, you know, how close we're getting, and then, you know, usually when we're, you know, a couple days away, you know, at least we'll be coordinating that.
I'm at the beginning of Berry Corner, so there'll be no early warning. You're gonna start at 169 logically and work up, so
Probably.
the early
So
notification doesn't
you'll
work.
be the first one to get called.
So I'll wait for the call, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that they're gonna try and start doing is starting to remove trees now, because they're not gonna do any road work because of the weather.
Okay.
So I think that's why we wanted to have them identify the trees, make sure that the homeowners and property owners didn't have any issues with the trees that were coming down, because some, you know, some people like trees more than others, some people don't wanna lose a specific tree. We didn't wanna have them go in there, cut trees, and then start getting phone calls, so.
But my concern personally is not the trees, because it's.
Right.
It's, I wanna keep my well water while you're trying to.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So do I need to find a piece of heavy equipment and park it over my well and
No.
wait till somebody calls me saying I need to fix the trench through there?
No. They're gonna be notifying you way before they put the trench through there. They might come and trim the trees.
There's no trees to trim.
Okay, well then
Second
you're all
time,
good.
there's about a 20-foot wide.
You're all clear.
It's clear, it's grass, it's beautiful. It's got a well in the way though.
Is
It's a
it?
well I'm really attached to until you provide me your beautiful
Yeah,
Southbridge
yeah.
water.
No, I can imagine,
It's,
as
I'm
we all
really, really
are.
attached to it every
It's,
minute of the day.
it's not a shallow well though,
It's a
right?
deep well.
Okay. That's better. We're not gonna disturb a deep well far enough away.
A couple other issues that we ran into on this other project is if you have invisible dog fences and sprinkler systems, a lot of times those are very hard to really trace and find them. And so if you have any of that when we're working on the property, you can assist the contractor to try to at least identify, you know, where they might be, just so that we can try to avoid hitting those wherever possible. But, you know, if they do get damaged, obviously they will get repaired.
Yeah, to add to that, also, I know there's certain houses have pools and other things, probably even conduit that might have been put in by the homeowner. If that can be identified, that would help out a lot too.
You want that identified on the plan, or you want us to like put flags in our yard, or what?
Well, if
Well, I mean-
flags or stake or whatever, we can even if you need a couple stakes, we can definitely supply that.
Right, when we come to your house to look at your, you know, to look in your basement and everything, you know, that would obviously be the opportune time to, you know, let us know what else we should.
What are buried.
Need to know, yeah, what other skeletons are buried in the closets,
Yeah.
you know?
It can be very, very deep, there's a lot of ledge.
It's true.
Like roughly how much room in the basement do you guys need to work? You know, like I have a wood shop where all the stuff comes in.
The plumbing that they'll install, it's probably about 2 feet. It's cause and the plumber, it's gonna come out of the wall, and it's gonna have a ball valve, and then there's gonna be a meter and another ball valve. And then the pump line's gonna go and attach to your existing plumbing. So ideally, you want it close to where the well comes in, cause you want it to be able to feed, cause your well comes in, goes through your pressure tank, and then feeds your house. So you want it close to that location, and about the same, and probably about the same length as what a pressure tank is, and the plumbing around your pressure tank. So ideally, it should be in that same region. It doesn't have to be, it just makes it, then the line is gonna run further to wherever that point is gonna connect.
So we give you an example, say right now, there's, you know, I don't know, ours is designed, our tank is in the corner.
Yep.
And right next to it, the line comes out of the wall about 6 inches off the ground.
Yep.
In the front of your house or the back of your house?
In the front.
In the
Yep.
front, good.
So now we take that tank out, because we don't need a holding tank
Yep.
anymore, right? So now we're gonna have a wall, a piece of pipe this long, sticking out of our wall with.
It's gonna be on the wall.
It's gonna be on the wall.
They'll
So
just
this
bring
is
it
gonna
in.
come off
Yeah, they can put it right on the wall.
Okay.
Ideally, it's usually right on the wall or right on the floor where that tank used to be, or right in that same area.
It can be vertical.
Yeah, it can be in different directions.
It should take up, with your water tank gone, it should take up less space than what you
I'm
currently have.
hoping so, because I really need this space. I got a lot of tools.
He's like, no.
Any other, general questions? Anything specific? Okay, well, you know, again, thank you all for coming out. You know, if you have any specific questions regarding your property, we'll stay here as long as you need to do that. We'll start to see some activity start to pick up in the next month or so. Yeah. Thank you very much.